In certain circles that I run, we call that kind of thing Pentecost infrastructure, because
love it.
because you just dump data into S3 and you're like, I forgot about it. Then you look at your bill. Ooh.
Welcome to episode 46 of It's About Data. This time we're chatting with Patrick McFadin of IBM at Day-to-Day Texas about the post-database era.
All right, Patrick, thanks for being here. It's great to record with you at Day-to-Day Texas. You want to give a quick intro to our audience? Obviously, we know who you are.
Yeah, we all know each other.
Yeah.
So I'm Patrick McFadin, currently working at IBM. I just joined through acquisition. I was at DataStax for 13 years. That was a long time. And before then, I was chief architect, ran engineering for a few internet firms, and just kind of grew up in the internet era, doing database stuff. And I've been doing this way too long.
Yeah, but on the other hand, as you tell us, your kids still think you're cool.
Only because I collect video games, yeah.
I got to get some cool hobbies.
Yeah, you got to have cool hobbies. Yeah, if you have lame hobbies, and your kids will never respect you.
So you kind of dropped an interesting point in your keynote yesterday. It's really the last Day-to-Day Texas in its current form. Okay, you basically alluded to a post-database era. So
yeah.
What are you thinking? What do you mean by that?
It sounds pretty scary when you say the words post-database era, especially when you're talking to database people.
Yeah.
Because no one wants to say, oh, what do you mean? And I'm irrelevant now? Not at all. What it touches in is some research that I had done after writing my last book around just automation. My book was around data in Kubernetes, and looking at the landscape and cloud native and how cloud native data works.
Yeah.
It obfuscates this thing that we've done in our industry for so long, which has made a religion around a database brand.
Yeah.
I'm an Oracle guy, or I'm a Postgres guy, I'm a Cassandra guy. Hey, that's true.
Can I interject there? Because for a long time, though, because all the in the relational world, all the SQLs were so proprietary to each database that if you replace your database, you'd have to replace your DBA. I mean, there's a good reason for that.
And the underlying infrastructure indexing, everything else that you have to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that made sense. And part of what got me here was just looking back at history, which is always helpful. And in the 2010s, and this is, we've all been through this, like the three of us at least, where the 2010s was this proliferation of new technologies. So when the .com era was, everyone had Oracle, they ran a Sun server, and that's what it was, right? And
.com.
Yeah, there was .com that started that, and then you had LAMP with MySQL, so everyone's like, okay, we're standardized on that. But then quickly, and this is like that 2005 to 2010, we're like, oh, this doesn't work. So what did we do? We reinvented the whole industry, and in 2010s through 2020-ish, I have some charts that are really interesting about how many different technologies were invented in that time.
Oh, it was a Cambrian explosion.
Oh, you're going to use a Cambrian word. Yes. But that was it. I mean, I remember going to NoSQL meetups in 2011, 2012, and there would just be a line of people with their new projects.
Yes.
Here's this thing that's based on the Dynamo paper, or we had React and Voldemort and Cassandra and Tokyo Cabinet that were all based on the Dynamo paper.
Wow.
How many of those do you remember now?
Damn good question.
Yeah, not too many.
Yeah. So that proliferation, I mean, in any industry, when you have a rapid proliferation, you have a contraction because people are like, well, I don't need 20 databases.
Yeah. Right.
And so that's what I was paying attention to. And then I did a survey, LinkedIn poll, which is super accurate scientifically. But I asked, like, how many databases do you have and where are you headed? And most of the respondents were like, we have too many and we're trying to get down to like 3 to 5 databases, which is still a big number. But there's so many that had 20 plus databases, brands.
Yeah.
So when you hear that, you know that they have a boss going, can we reduce that?
Yeah.
And that's what's happening right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. So in my world, kind of working more on the quote unquote big data and analytics side, where there's been a lot of talk about HTAP over the last several years. I think it's fizzled a bit, but the fundamental thing with HTAP really is that you had multiple databases behind the scenes. It's not actually a single database.
Sure.
But you hide the abstraction, and maybe that's kind of what's happening now, that like you kind of hide the details, what database is doing what thing, and you just let the cloud vendor take care of it. I mean, Amazon's DynamoDB kind of does that. Is it?
Yeah,
Are
but
there
Amazon
multiple
has
clusters,
15 different
distribution?
databases.
Amazon joined into the club like everyone else.
Yeah.
And then that's just cloud databases. But I think you're right. Man, you mentioned HTAP.
Yeah.
HTAP is a logical conclusion to the actual thing that we need, which is developers need APIs to do things.
Right.
And that's the core of my thesis is that developers won't be saying, oh, I need a Postgres database. No, they need Postgres compatible SQL. And that's another data point that I've gathered is how many different databases support Postgres SQL format. Probably around 20 at this point.
Yeah.
So when you use Aurora, or you go use, even Snowflake now supports it, you're using Calcite or Presto or anything like that, there's a Postgres compatibility in that.
Yeah.
So the developers are just like, great, that's what I know.
Yeah.
It's become kind of the go-to database.
Yeah, and so I really do think we're settling in on 5 or 6 basic APIs, which is SQL, key value, document, search, graph.
Yeah. If you think about it, though, that really syncs well with how the cloud is set up, because in the cloud, of course, you separate compute from data, but also you can do workload isolation. So, like, if you have this common pool of data, and of course, and I'd love to ask you about that, one up is to say, okay, this API, we just use this particular engine to do that particular worklogoing. Talk to me about that.
Well, and that's kind of the dream of cloud native data is that workloads are going to drive the emergence of the infrastructure.
Right.
So I'm building an application that's going to have transactionals, and I'm going to need to report on it, and maybe there's some sort of streaming component. Well, those are all requirements. None of them say, I need Postgres, Kafka, and Iceberg.
Yeah.
They're just, no, I need these components to be available. We're using Kubernetes more. That's another thing that's growing more and more to say, okay, I'm going to describe the infrastructure that I need to meet the requirements for the developer.
Yeah.
And I'm going to throw the word in, AI is going to only make that bigger.
And it's declarative, right? It's that declarative concept, actually just like SQL, where you say, this is what I want, go figure it out for me, figure out, this is what kind of performance I need, figure out how many I need, scale it up and down automatically, that kind of thing.
And and look at our industry over 50 years, is whenever there's a defined requirement, eventually we settle into one thing, because why make choices?
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, I want to throw out another thing that I've been thinking about a lot lately, and that is, if you read Hacker News, there are all these posts about how we don't need SaaS anymore because I can sit down and vibe code your app in an hour or 5 hours or whatever, but I just vibe code whatever I want, and so I don't need to pay for a subscription. And I was thinking about that a lot as a data person. I'm like, well, what does SaaS really have then, if that's true? We'll see if it's true. But I think what your SaaS platform has is data, potentially from a lot of people, and that might actually help them make their SaaS better. So I've been thinking about this idea after also talking to Tony's friend Rick Greenwald about, like, are we moving toward an era where code is no longer the center, but data is the center? Or is that a pipe dream? I don't know.
Pipe dream or data, people.
Yeah. Hey, we should serve ourselves and just say yes.
But no, like, try to be skeptical. Like, tell me why I'm wrong.
Well, I mean, of course, data is the heaviest part of applications because it's hard to move, it's dangerous, and that's the thing you really want to keep at the end.
Right.
And that's why data is that's why there's a data day, because there's a lot of people that get paid to make sure that data stays there and is useful and has business value. So that's still a key consideration. With cloud native, though, we get some amorphousness in that. Like, we can say, here's another data point for you. And thank you for helping me tell all my points. Is the absolute crazy rise of object storage and how it's turned into the ubiquitous storage layer for all sorts of data formats. I look at things like Hadoop and Spark have been using object storage really well in analytics.
BigQuery,
but the new technology, like Quadrant, the Quadrant vector database, for instance, brand new database, just popped onto the scene. Object is a first class for them, which is kind of pointing to this like, oh, we got this convergence happening inside of storage as well. And why? Because S3 compatibility is everywhere. You can get it in Google, you can get it in Azure, you can get it, you can do it on your laptop. But it's an API, but it gives you access to storage that has crazy durability. I think
scalability.
Amazon S3 is like 11 nines of durability.
Yeah.
What is that?
It's just sublime.
Yeah. But it's just an easy settling place. And so, to your point, it's like now that we have this cheap, durable, predictive cost, now we can mold things around it.
Yeah. But let me take that, and I think it's also basically an issue that we're also seeing with the open table formats as well, which is that at the end of the day, when I say who owns the data, I don't necessarily mean like people, but in other words, like at some point, basically, there needs to be like a final authority in terms of like who or what's governing the data. Where is basically the it's kind of like kind of like the data of record, the governance system of record.
Yeah.
So the thing is like, how do we basically deal with that riddle now that we can disaggregate all this stuff?
Yeah, and data has risk too. Speaking of S3, if you don't lock your bucket, it's everyone's data. But data has risk. It can be forgotten and expensive. In certain circles that I run, we call that kind of thing Pentecost infrastructure, because because you just dump data into S3 and you're like, I forgot about it. Then you look at your bill. Ooh. So there's that, but it's also like there's a lot of intelligence, and there was a reason you collected data. In 2010s, when Hadoop made everyone believe that you should never delete data, like that was the joke. Is like step 1, collect data. Step 2, step 3, like profit.
South Park, right?
It was the underwear nodes.
Or as I used to say, a lot of cheap gets expensive.
Oh, it does. And then you're asking, well, and who's to say that you can? I mean, you don't want to purge all that data, because what if there's something valuable in there? I mean, we all have garages that look exactly. So yeah, I think now especially, this has been part of that drive to consolidate is to save money. Because money was cheap in the 2010s, low interest rates. Money was flying around. Growth was a premium. Now everyone's like, okay, we need to dial back. And they're looking at their data estate and they're like, do we really need 20 petabytes of log files? I don't know.
I mean, I think also at some point this will actually be driven by AI training. And this is something I've been arguing for a couple of years. And that is right now the practice is to grab all the text on the internet and train your LLM on it. And that's not going to work in the future, because increasingly the internet itself is just AI generated. And when you train these models on their own output, the performance just drops. And so at some point we're going to have to like start curating and collecting good content and throwing away the bad content.
And for just getting closer to the consumer, the person, like me, when I use an app, I'm not worried about deep data. I'm like, just do what I ask you. I want to order a pizza. And that takes us more fundamental to like transactional data. Transactional data is still the name of the game. Analytic data is still got some amorphousness to it. Is there value in it? You could pay someone to find the value in it. But transactional data is still the leading edge. And that's changing so much. And that's actually mostly what I talk about in my post-database era, is the transactional side. Because I just want to build an app, and I can build an app in a couple of days now.
But you got to get the data schema right to do it, presumably, for the future.
And you think long term of the data is also, that's the hangover you get.
And I think potentially another issue there, which could be looming, was basically is reverse ETL, where we basically start considering like that this derived analytic data is now data of record.
Well, and that's when Matt was talking about HTAP, ETL. So when I was chief architect many years ago, I banned ETL. And because it was the most expensive and dangerous thing that we did with our data. So I'm like, how can we just analyze this in place? And it was a wild idea, but I think HTAP is that as an architecture.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. And streaming, you can throw that in there too, right? Like event-based data that just flows in, then you analyze it. Yeah.
Yeah. At this point, I mean, Patrick, very much appreciate your stopping by on your way to the plane on what's really an icy day in Austin.